It's July 28, Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform continues its operation. My name is Svetlana Chaparenko. Now we are about to be talking about the situation in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and Zaporizhzhia region. Joining us online is Yurii Malashko, the military governor of Zaporizhzhia region. Good afternoon, Mr. Yurii. Good afternoon, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Mr. Yurii, so what is the situation in the region? What is the security and the humanitarian situation in the region? Well, talking about the security, the enemy continues inflicting strikes all along the front line. They inflicted 75 strikes today only, mostly using artillery. Also, there was a strike on the city of Zaporizhzhia itself, fortunately without casualties. Talking about the humanitarian component, we are fully supplied with everything. The settlements located along the front lines are supplied with all the basic necessities. We do all the necessary steps to make sure our citizens remain unharmed. We know that the enemy shells the areas along the front line incessantly. What is the situation with critical infrastructure there and what are the consequences? Talking about the consequences, every day we have up to 30 destroyed civil residential buildings. So the enemy tries to target civil population. Talking about critical infrastructure with the water supply in the city of Zaporizhzhia and in other non-occupied territories is in full operation. We have potable water in Belenkivska community. There is potable water, so we keep our hand on the pulse. We keep control over the situation. Well, but talking about the critical infrastructure, the winter is coming. And what is the condition? What is the progress with the repair works? Well, talking about the preparation to the heating season, we are approaching the indicators that there should be. As of August, we will have about 60% of the energy infrastructure ready, but the enemy keeps shelling the power infrastructure on a daily basis, so that we come into the heating season with problems, but we keep control of the situation. We take all the necessary steps to mitigate the consequences of even future strikes. Talking about the situation in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, what is the situation there? We know that the enemy switched the reactor number 4 to the hot shutdown mode. Do you continue monitoring the situation? Well, we monitor the situation, but unfortunately we don't have control over the situation. Talking about reactor number 5, we know that it was switched into cold idle mode and only reactor number 4 is in hot shutdown mode. Talking about the level of radiation in the power plant itself and in the radius of 35 kilometers, it's within standard. In the cooling pond there is sufficient water to provide cooling for reactor number 4. Well, you're saying that the water supply is sufficient, but for what period? Well, as you see, since the moment of detonation of Kakhovka Dam, the level of water in the cooling pond has fallen as well, but there are drills, there are wells, and the thermal power plant where the water can be taken from for cooling purposes. We understand that the situation in the power plant is out of control because it's managed by the occupiers. So how does the region prepare itself for different scenarios? Well, talking about the terroristic act, we already had training with coordination of all means and forces. We were preparing for the worst. We engaged all of the agencies that are supposed to mitigate the consequences of detonation in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. We checked their readiness and we trained the process of evacuation of civilians. Is there any information communication work going on with the citizens? Yes, we post the algorithm of actions for the civilians in our websites. What should be done first thing and what's most important, we instruct everybody to listen to the official and verified information from official sources in case of emergency. Dear colleagues, do we have questions on the floor? Good afternoon, Ukrinform. There was information about some explosion heard in whereabouts of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And another question, do you have any connections with the employees of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant? I mean, the Ukrainian employees. Do you know if there was a rotation of personnel since the beginning of occupation? Were they able to leave the area? And is there any information about the effects of torture, either physical or psychological, exercised against our Ukrainian personnel in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant? Well, in response to question number 4, I don't want to put our Ukrainian personnel in jeopardy, so I won't comment. And talking about the pressure on our Ukrainian personnel, the enemy continues pressing on them to make them do what the occupiers want, but they keep fighting in their own way. They take all the necessary steps to make sure that the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant operates in standard mode. And regarding your first question, I apologize once again. There was information about some explosion nearby the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Yes, I've read that information, but what I can say, the occupiers used the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as storage for their weapons and ammunition, and they also inflict strikes on our towns and villages from Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and it's clear that the Ukrainian forces will not respond to them in violation of convention. Well, there might have been some explosion. We know that the riverbank was mined even before the occupation, so something may have detonated. Thank you very much, Mr. Yurii. I'm reminding you, joining us was Yurii Malashko, the military governor of Zaporizhzhia region, and we were talking about the situation in the Zaporizhzhia region. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform will continue its operation next week. Stay tuned.